Hello guys, Zanara here, and today I'll be doing my first ever Car 5 Vanguard deck profile. That video was like, what, 6 years old? Actually, it was posted on March 21st, so it's actually been my 7th year anniversary? Yeah, I guess so. What's up guys, Zanara here, and today I'm going to be doing a blast from the past ANGE Harmony deck profile. So recently over this weekend, Curly Haired Hero decided to have a G format tournament, and I decided to participate in both of them. Unfortunately, on the second day, I couldn't do all of the rounds. I had an errand to do. So I'm just going to go over my deck list I used for day 2 since I changed it from day 1. This deck is really strong, but if you're not me, you could probably top, but it's me, so I didn't top at all. So without further ado, let's get it started. So for the starter of the deck, we're having Ceiling Voice Loris. So to those who aren't new to for those who are new to G, we, same as in D, we have starters, but these starters have to be in main deck. So our main deck was only 49 cards, and this was our starter we chose. So with Ceiling Voice Loris, she has a Forerunner ability, so when she's rolled over, you can move her to a Rigor Circle. I know D players, I would love to have this in D2, but they're all in the soul, you draw a card. And she has the Harmony ability, which I will explain it now. So Harmony is when your other unit is placed in the same column as this unit. Both units become in harmony to the end of turn, and this is not once per turn as well. So you can keep reharmonizing Loris and another card, even if the other card doesn't have harmony. She also has harmony. Sorry, both of the cards have harmony. So it's just like in D series with Friends, but instead this is like a more restrictive version of Friends. So if you heard of old Vanguard players saying, yeah, Friends is like harmony, yeah, that's why I originated from this. She has another auto ability, which is once a turn, when the number of your units in harmony are 4 or more, you have to soul charge 1. So this is a mandatory ability, but it's important because this deck needs soul. And the last ability is Act. Counterblast 1, put this unit into the soul. Then you can choose one of your rear guards with the harmony ability, return your hand, and draw a card. So this is a good way if you have extra CB in the early game or even late game to get some digging, and you put a card in the soul. I'll explain later why we need a bunch of soul, and it's pivotal towards the main engine of this deck. So this is just our start. Now for the triggers of the deck, we have 4 Shushu Roberta. So Shushu Roberta has a simple skill that Act Rigor Circle. You can put this card in the soul and countercharge 1. So this deck is kind of counterblast heavy at certain points, but it can be really easy to mitigate your counterblast in the deck because there are a lot of ways to do multi-attack without CB in the form of a trigger we'll see here in a bit. But this card is really good, especially for the early game. If you're trying a grade 2 game, you can also just put this in the soul to countercharge, so your other cards can draw or have more attack power in the grade 2 game. So I'm just going to put the triggers right here so y'all can see. Next, for the critical triggers, we have Popping Melody Layla. So this card was in Divas Festa, and this is a really good card. It has 0 power, but it's still a normal critical trigger. So she has the ability of Auto Rigor Circle, generate your break 2. You counterblast 1 and return it to your hand. When this unit boosts, you may pay the cost. If you do it to the end of the turn, double that unit's power. And if that boosted unit has GB2, that unit gets a crit. Oh, I didn't even know you could just do this any unit. So this card is really good because most units in this deck have the generate your break 2 ability, which, if you're familiar with stride decks, that means you need to have 2 face-up cards in your G-Zone, or at least a stride on your G-Zone and a flipped up card in your G-Zone to be able to activate Generation Break 2. So this is pretty much live on your first stride if you have a card that flips. And Lila is really good because not only does she doubles power, she also gives the boost unit 2 critical. And some strides in this deck have Generation Break 2, and it's really, really good to be able to give the Vanguard a crit, or other Generation Break 2 rearguards a crit. Lastly, for the offensive triggers, we have 4 Dreamer Crook. So in this tournament, Crook was not restricted to 1, so I did play 4. But most of my games didn't really matter if I drew Crook or not. But Crook is a Harmony unit, as per se she has Harmony. And she has the continuous ability. If this unit is a Harmony, this unit gets the red text auto. At the end of battle that this unit boosted, you put this at the top of the deck. Then you choose one of your rear guards. Sorry, if this unit wasn't Harmony, you choose one of your rear guards, you return to hand, then you call a card from hand and you shuffle the deck. So for returning the stand trigger to deck, not only can you get more multi-attack from the stand trigger, you can also get a multi-attack for free for minusing this card from the field. This card was really strong in G, because a lot of decks like Coral and this deck ANGE just had a lot of free multi-attack, or just had a lot of high power, and this also pushed the deck over the edge. In Premium now, I feel like, you know, this card could come back at 4 because it's not that much of an issue, but in G era, this card was really, really strong towards the last set of the entire era of G. So I'm playing at 4 because it's a really good tactic center, and it has Harmony for early game conditions and for extra multi-attack for later on for strides. And lastly, for the triggers, I'm playing 4 Shushu Melania. So this is the updated version, but this basically has 10k shield and 5k power. It's not 10k power. So this heal is when you discard it for the cost of your G Guardian, you could bind this in another heal from your drop zone that you may countercharge or soul charge 1. It's really good in this deck because there are times where you need counterblast and or soul. And compared to, you know, my deck years ago, I don't even think I even had this card. I had like vanilla triggers, but this card is really, really strong in the deck. And especially since we have more ways of G guarding, you can use this sparingly or at the right moment for you to have even more counterblast for your plays. Now to the grade 1s. The main grade 1 engine of this deck is Novel Dress Akari. So Akari has the Harmony ability, and she has the other auto ability, which is put this in the soul. When this unit during the battle, this unit attacked, hit, or boosted. If this unit was in Harmony, you may pay the cost, which is, you know, putting this into the soul. If you do draw a card, choose one of your rearguards with the Harmony ability and return it to hand. This card is really, really good, not only for the mid game, but also is really strong for the early game. Most cards in G era did not have a really strong early game, albeit there were a couple decks that did. But Akari is not only a card you could just call behind the Vanguard and you will gain a Harmony ability. Well, both of the units will be in Harmony. Most units, sorry, not most units, most of the time your opponent will no guard the Vanguard, meaning that she would get the hit and you can put her in the soul to draw. So she fuels soul, she has a Harmony ability, and she's able to clear out your rear guards if they have the Harmony ability as well, so you could grade 2 game even further. And this card is just really strong, as well as it doesn't need to hit a Vanguard, it just needs to hit. So if you are grade 2 gaming, you could poke your opponent's rear guard, and they will have to commit either cards from hand or just let it through, and you can also just, you know, gain card advantage. This card is really strong, especially for the end of G, where most decks either had GB skills that they had to use and wait. So this is just another strong piece in the deck to have. Next we have 3 Empress tier Subaru. So Subaru came out in, I think, Loris's set. I forgot which set, but she has the Harmony ability and the second ability, which is really strong in this deck. She has auto once a turn. When this unit becomes a Harmony, choose one of your other units in Harmony with the GB2 ability, and if you do, it's in the end of turn, that unit gets continuous Rearguard Circle or Vanguard Circle resist, and this unit gets plus 3,000 power and the resist ability as well. So Subaru in this deck allows you to actually have your GB2 units untouchable pretty much, unless you have like a specific card that gets around resist, so they target a circle like ANGE herself, or something like Defeat Flare. But Subaru is also really nice because we do have some GB2 units in this deck, and you can have her gain 3,000 power in the early game. So something like a Kari can make a 17k lane on your grade 2 turn, or even grade 1 turn, if you have enough harmony units or grade 1 units. So you can actually start pressuring really early. And like I said, the benefit of this is that you give resist to a GB2 unit, and in GR there are a lot of interaction decks that can either kill your front row rear guard or just do stuff to the main phase to retire. So Subaru is a really nice card to prevent that from happening, while also making a 10k booster, which 10k boosters were either not super common or they was really rare. But Subaru is just a really nice card in this deck specifically for that. Next, we have exactly 5 Aqua PGs, which is Transcend, Idle, Aqua. So you're probably wondering, how can I run 5 in this deck? So Aqua has the ability of Continuous. If you can put up to 6 copies of Transcend, Idle, Aqua in your deck. However, all your perfect guards have to be Aqua. So I could go up to a maximum of 6. So I put an extra PG in here for Aqua to have 5. And her second ability is, when she's placed on a Guardian Circle, you can choose a card from your hand and put it in your soul. And when this unit is, and when you pay the cost, you can choose one of your units, and that unit cannot get attacked to the end of battle. And if the number of sentinels in your drop is 3 or more, you choose all of your rear guards, and they cannot be hit to the end of turn. So this is, I'm not sure how often the cannot be hit to the end of turn for all of your rear guards, but the fact that this card puts a card from hand into soul instead of drop allows you to have more cards in soul. And this was really used in Coral, to put your corals into soul so you can have, you know, bigger front row power. But also Aqua, you know, the strongest part of this is that you're able to actually just have 6 PGs in this deck, which is just very, very strong. Especially at the time, or even now, you can still run this in premium, but most people opt to run more something like the draw sentinels instead. So Aqua's in here for the soul, and also because of another G guard in the G zone that we'll go over. Almost done here with the grade 1s. Next I have 2 Hanali. Hanali in G era was actually this is pre-errated, so I don't think we played with the errated version, obviously. So I could just read effects here since I didn't get the new one. So Continuous, all your rear guards cannot attack the Vanguard if it's the 5th or more battle, and that that turn unless you pay CB1, sorry. Then auto, when this unit is placed on a rear guard circle, basically you have to choose a card, face up your damage zone, and turn face down, which is basically counter 1. And you can play this all nations and clans. So Hanali in this deck, since we still have Centron in this format, you can still do a Hanali play during your opponent's turn to prevent them from multi-attacking, which a lot of decks in GR do multi-attack. So it's still pretty, it's still a pretty good card for you to have. However, more decks in this format have main phase retire ways of just retiring Hanali on your rear guard circle. So that's why it's more important more than ever to have that in your deck. And there's also cards that you're able to call before your opponent's stride phase to have Hanali up. And that's this attack in my deck specifically. So Hanali is still a very, very strong card, even in G era. And with its update in premium, it's even stronger. Lastly, one of my techs from my last in 7 years deck profile is Shushu Inru. So she has 2 abilities, which is auto, Generation Break 1. Choose a rear guards with the Shushu in a card name and put it at the bottom of the deck. And at the end of battle, this unit boosted, you may pay the cost if you do draw a card. Then her second ability is Continuous, Generation Break 2. During your turn, all of your units with Shushu in their card names and your front row get 2,000 power. So not only this helps make all your shoo rear guards actually hit force numbers, which is actually like up into today's standards for for premium and in standard, but her ability to bottom deck a shoo rear guard, which I'll go to the grade 3s, to be able to keep it safe in your deck. You can search your shoo units or other shoo units, either in the shoo deck or this, and draw a card is really, really good. Also, she has a Generation Break 2 ability, which will be very important when I go over to the grade 3s. But this is all the grade 1s. Now for grade 2s. The main backbone, I would say, of this deck when it comes to early game and drawing is Gift of Effort Shawnee. So she has the Harmony ability, and her second ability is Auto Vanguard Rigor Circle. Cameras 1. At the beginning of your battle phase, you may pay the cost. If you do draw a card, for every 3 units in Harmony, if the number of your units in Harmony are 4 or more, this unit gets plus 5,000 power to end a turn. So Shawnee is really strong because, for one, it's not Generation Break locked, so you're able to essentially draw cards in the early game. If you have a full board, you're able to draw at least 2 cards to replenish your hand. She's able to hit 14k by herself with the counterblast, so she can make pretty solid numbers. And not only that, she has the Harmony ability, which is really important for our strides when I go over them. Shawnee is a really, really good card, especially for the G era. In premium standards, she's not that good. However, if Harmony does make a return to premium, we could see Shawnee come back. But this is just a really strong card for Harmony overall, and it really made Harmony's core early game and even mid to late game even better, because you can just call a full board of Harmony units, bounce it back while also drawing. So this card is actually what makes the deck a little bit CB heavy if you have like multiple Shawnees, but it's mitigated thanks to Melania and Shushu Roberta, as well as other countercharge resources. Next, we have 3 Eager MVE Mariner. So I would play 4, I just cannot find my last copy. So she has 3 abilities, which one of them is Harmony, and her second ability is Auto. When this unit becomes in Harmony, if you have a Vanguard with Loris in its card name, this unit gets 3,000 power to the end of the turn. And the last ability, which is the important one, is Continuous Rigor Circle Generation Break 2. For every this unit gets 3,000 power for every 2 units in Harmony. So this card in the early game doesn't really do anything, unless you have a Loris Vanguard. But her most important abilities are in Generation Break 2, and she can become essentially a 18k rearguard by herself with a full board of Harmony or greater. I think she become 21 with Loris if you do have a Loris Vanguard. So she can swing pretty solid numbers by herself, but she's just a massive beater. But the main benefit of playing her in this deck is because she's Generation Break 2, you can guarantee search for a Harmony unit with the Generation Break 2 ability, which is just really, really strong in this deck. Other than that, she's a really great beater. Probably one of my favorite cards, just because it's really orange, and I like this card, just a big beater. Ever since, you know, I first made a deck. So we're playing 3 Mariner, but I would recommend playing 4. Next, I am playing 3 Attractive Glow Sandy. So she has 1 ability, which is just really strong. Continuous Hand. This card may be regarded as a card with a heal as a cost of your G Guardian. So Shawnee is just an extra G Guardian in your deck. She's literally just an extra heal without actually the heal trigger effect, which is really strong with our G Guards and Bermuda's G Guards, that you're able to just have extra G Guardians in your deck. So you could play 4, but I think 3 is perfect because you have 3 extra G Guards in your deck. And running 4, you can brick on just having to ride one, which is bad because Bermuda and G had no type of recycle or recursion from drop. So whatever's in your drop is in your drop. So I think 3 is perfectly fine. Instead, you could also opt to run 2 to run more cards or other Harmony techs in your deck. So that's why I think, you know, 3 is a perfect flex spot. Lastly, the card I would have played for Marinir, but instead is just going to be Magical Charge Vita. So she has two abilities. Obviously, one is Harmony, and the second one is Rigor Circle, Energy Break 1, Soul Boss 1, and return 0 to your hand. At the beginning of each turn's main phase, you may pay the cost. If you do, chooses the one grade 1 card or less from your hand, call it a Rigor Circle, and call it to open Rigor Circle. And if you have a grade 4 or greater Vanguard, you can countercharge 1. So this card is a tech for you either setting up for a Harmony play during your opponent's turn, or use it during your turn to countercharge in your before your main phase. So it will be explained once I talk about obviously ANGE in the deck. So you can essentially call this before your main phase, then you can countercharge while also keeping this in your hand and setting up your board. So think of her as just like a really good countercharge option. She's not searchable, but in this deck, if you're using a bunch of CV from like Shani drawing multiple times, or you're using something like the grade 4 ANGE, you can just half their cost or make the cost null and void with Vita. So with that being said, that's all the grade 2s. Are you struggling to find cards or sleeves for your deck? Well, I got a website for you. 50 Cards is a TCG website that ships all over the world. One of the best places for your trading card needs. Without 50 Cards, I wouldn't be able to have these amazing, beautiful looking cards in great condition in my hands. What are you waiting for? Head over to the shop and use the code Zenarion for a 5% discount for your TCG items at checkout. Use a referral link in the description below. While you're at it, hit a like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Happy shopping. As much as I want to delay talk about the main star of this deck profile, I've talked about it first. So we have Delight Genius ANGE. You know, it's been so long since I played this card. I had a lot of fun memories just playing this in the Curly's tournament, so glad I got to rebuild the deck again. So she has two abilities, which is Auto Vanguard Circle. Soul Boss 1, when this will be placed on Vanguard Circle, or when you stride, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose the 2 cards for in any of your player circles other than Vanguard Circle and return to hand. If one or more of your opponent's cards will return to hand, you draw a card. If one or more of your cards will return to hand, search your deck up to 1 card with Generation Break 2, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Their second ability is Continuous Generation Break 2. When you will call cards from your hand for the cost of stride, you may call those to Rigor Circle instead. So this card is the backbone of the deck because she does almost everything except like countercharge, I guess, in counterblast. But she draws you cards. You draw one from bouncing your opponent's rear guards, and you can technically draw one from bouncing one of your rear guards. And this is why you want Generation Break 2 units in this deck, because you can search them, which is really, really strong. She also targets the circles, so any resist she gets around because she just targets the circle and you return all cards from that circle to your hand. Then she works even when you're placing it. So if you're having to go first, you could still get your +2 when you ride onto her or when you ride first. Then her Treasure Break 3 is just the strongest, well, probably one of the most strongest stride skills ever in this game. Instead of discarding from hand to drop, you just call them instead. So in G, this deck had so much hand size, you wouldn't really lose any hand size unless you was finding something like Nubatama or ZTB or even Coral. So most of the time you would have a hand size and you could just call them to Rigor Circle instead. So you're not negging the stride, you're just literally calling them to Rigor Circle to stride. And you could proc off multiple abilities during that turn, while also fulfilling Ange's like on stride condition too, because you have a board to be able to bounce them back. So this card is really, really strong in the G era, which is why it's restricted to 1 in premium, even though we have a bunch of decks that are way stronger than this card. So this is the main backbone of the deck, which is Delight Genius ANGE. Next, we're going to talk about probably my most hated card. I hate this card, but you have to play it, which is Shushu Lucio. So Lucio has one ability, which is auto, Generation Break 2. When this unit is placed on a regular circle, for the effect or cost of your cards during your turn, choose the 3 of your units and they get 5,000 power to the end of the turn. So this card is just a mini soul saver, but you could just keep repeatedly calling it and give 5k power to 3 units. It's really dumb. It's really strong. 4G. It's probably possible in premium, but is not as strong because everything gets like a million power. And Lucille, she also has a Shushu name. So remember Irune I talked about before? Well, she could bottom deck Lucille to keep her safe, and you can search it out with ANGE again. Now, granted, I would play 3. I could not find my 3rd one to save my life. And I would rather not play 3 because I have to ride this twice. So it's not a good time. You really want to ride ANGE and basically get your engine started by drawing cards. Lucio is just a really good rear guard. Also, since she has a Shushu name, your stride with Tidua also affects this card as well. So she's also just a really good target rear guard for Tidua as well. So as much as I don't want to play this card, you have to play at least 2. You can search 1 out if you don't have to ride it. So lastly, one of my favorite cards, one of my more favorited cards after G era was Magical Center Nina. So I did talk about Nina for like 30 plus minutes in premium. You can look up here in the timestamp for the video. So I did talk about Nina, and this card is really nifty. So she has the the Harmony ability. It has 2 other abilities. Auto, Vanguard Circle, once a turn, when this unit becomes in Harmony, or when you pay for the cost of Stride, you can pay the cost of Soul Boss 1. If you do it to the end of turn, if you do draw a card, it's just a card from your hand and call it to Rigor Circle, and to the end of turn, that unit gets the red text auto once a turn. When this unit becomes a Harmony, countercharge 1. And continuous Vanguard Circle, Rigor Circle, GB2, when this unit is in Harmony, this unit gets 5 of power. So for the tournament, I didn't really use this. But I wish I had a second copy, because there was moments where I could either use it as a Rigor Circle, or if I had another one, I wouldn't have to ride a Lucio, which this is not bad. This could be Loris, but I like the countercharge for this. Nina also has early game plays, which Loris doesn't, but Nina is a really good card for your defensive turns. So if you're going against something like Dominate or some other multi-attack deck, Subaru, if you use a G-Guard to call Subaru, or use Vita to call Subaru before your opponent starts playing or their turn, as long as they don't retire on Stride, you can call Subaru. Both of them get resist, and she gets 5,000 power continuously, and they cannot remove Subaru, so she's always in Harmony, meaning she's a 16k base, and Subaru's 10k. So Eva gets like defensive plays. She could still get the power, so it's really a nifty card. Also, she's a 16k on Rigor Circle, which it does matter in this deck, because 16k was a pretty strong number back then, because it was a 10k shield, which was at least a triggering hand. So Nina is a really good card. I would honestly play 2. I just didn't have enough space, and you could probably take out like an Aqua for another Nina, but that's only if you're afraid of riding the Lucio. So if you're ballsy, you can play 3 Lucio. If not, you can play 2 Nina with the 2 Lucio. So that's all for the grade 3s. Before I get to the strides, let me talk about the G Guardians. Some of these G Guards you've seen before in other deck profiles, so I'll go over them really quickly. First, we have High Society Citron. Citron, you G Guard with her, you could call a card that's not grade 0, grade 1 or greater. And then, she gets 10,000 power for her shield. So this is what causes the Hanali interaction. This also is what causes the interaction with Nina and Subaru and other stuff in this deck. And also it sets up your board for ANGE if you don't have any Rigor Circles, which is really good. Next we have Hand in Hand Leona. This card still has not been reimprinted, but I don't think that matters anymore in premium. Um, she can choose one of your rear guards to return it to hand. You choose a card from your hand and call it a Garden Circle. If that card has the same grade, I think it was the same grade or the same name. No, same name. If it has the same name as the card that you returned from your rear circle to hand, she gets an additional 5,000 shield, or that unit gets a additional 5,000 shield. So this is good for either keeping your rear guard safe from like specific in battle retire effects, or to keep one of your rear guards safe from like being attacked into. So you could play Dismal in this slot, but also you just keep the rear guard safe that you had. So Leon is just a really, really good card to have just in case in those scenarios that you do need to bounce something back to your hand. Next, I play one Shushu Cradle Lullaby Millennia. Wait, is this the same card as the heal? It is. It seems like it's the same card. I did not know that. That's so cool. Anyway, Millennia, she has a simple effect is when she's placed on Guardian Circle, you can choose one of your Shushu rear guards to place it to the bottom deck. If you do, you can countercharge 1, and this unit gets 10,000 shielded to the end of that battle. So she's a 25k shield rear guard. I mean, shield guardian, but also you put your Shushu units back to deck. Which the only two Shushu units, well, other than the heal and crit, the only two Shushu units you have in this deck are GB2 units, meaning you can search it back out again, and you don't really lose them because you know you could just search them back out again for whatever reason you need. So this is good because it's another counter charge in your deck, which is I haven't used it, but it's really good if you want to just keep your Lucille safe or any other Shushu text you want to play into your deck. So that's why I play one of it. And lastly, I play Blessed Sparkle Sandy. So this was a Fighters Collection flip G guard. So she has General Break 1 when this unit is placed on Guardian Circle. You choose a card with the G Guardian icon from your G zone and turn it face up, which is actually really good in this deck, and you'll see why. Then for every 2 cards you have in your hand, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield. Then you get counterblast 1, and she gets an additional plus 5,000 shield. This deck draws a lot. You can essentially have a PG with this skill because overtriggers do not exist in G. Thank God. So if you have a bunch of cards in your hand, unless your opponent has like a giant Vanguard like Dimension Police, you're essentially able to have a perfect guard with this G Guardian. So with that, this is why you could play 2 Sandy if you're ballsy. You could like replace this with another Sandy, and I think it's perfectly fine. Sandy is a really good card in this deck. Yeah, it's a really strong G Guardian. Lastly, you would never see this card premium because it's Luxury Wave Ellie. So Ellie is a banned G guard for a reason. And she has 2 abilities, which is Continuous Guardian Circle. This unit gets 10,000 shield for each Sentinel in your drop zone and each face up Luxury Wave Ellie in your G zone. Then her auto ability is Generation Break 2. No, you cannot search this because this isn't your G zone. When this unit is put into your G zone face up, you pay the cost so plus 1. If you do, turn this card face down. And this is the reason why this deck was super strong. I feel the combination with this, Ange and Ellie, not Ellie, Aqua, in the later stages of Premium, well, the early stages of Premium, is what made this card get banned and Ange hit to 1. Ellie is probably, if not one of the most strongest defensive G guards ever. When I mean defensive, I mean a raw shield value, because not only could you play 6 Aquas and just have a drop zone full of Aquas and it's basically like plus 70k shield, you can also reuse it again. And for every L you have in your G zone, she also gets 10k shield. So, and since you could just keep reusing the 1, if you G guard with either Sandy or any of your other cards that just flip a card in your G zone, you can have a 25k shield for a G guard and repeatedly keep reusing it. During the early stages of Premium and G, Most decks could not overcome this. It was just a card that just walled your opponent out. Now in Premium, I think it's very easy to just hit over this, but at the time of G, this card was really, really strong in the deck, and I kind of felt bad using it in this in the tournaments that I played, because when I have a handful of like 2 heals in a Sandy, I'm like, I'm not dying this turn, and most decks either if they multi-attacked, add ways to get around that, or if they hit hard, hit bigger, I could just use 2 Ellies and just, you know, keep them. Just keep one still safe. So, that's why so short history. That's why Ellie's banned. And this is all my G cards. Now on to the strides of the deck. We have the main playmaker of why I call it Odd Harmony is Alk. So Alk was in Divas Festa, probably the strongest Harmony stride we'll ever get for a very long time. And she has 3 abilities, which the first one's Harmony. The second one is Act Cameras 1. You Persona Flip, which is basically turning one of your cards with the same name as this, AUG Zone face up. You choose 2 of your rear guards with the Harmony ability and return to hand. And this unit gets the text, red text, auto. When this unit would attack, choose up to the same number of cards of your G Zone plus 1, and you can return those cards from your rigor circle to your hand. Then you can choose up to 2 cards according to separate rigor circles. So, and the last ability is continuous. Vanguard Circle Generation Break 3. All of your Harmony units get plus 5,000 power continuously. Yeah. So, Alk is really good in this deck because, like I said, on top of Lucille and Marinir and other Harmony units, this is why you want a deck mainly of Harmony units, because you need to return 2. There's a way to circumvent this though, but I didn't need to play in this. I played in my first version, but not in this one. That's why you absolutely need Harmony units to be able to get 5 attacks on your first stride, for 1, and 2, you're able to get Generation Break 3 live if you do G Guard for going first, or you know, you go to your second stride. You're able to essentially have like rear guards that hit like nearly 26 plus K in this deck, which is really ridiculous. And you're multi-attacking, and Crook exists, so you get more multi-attack. And Crook has Harmony, so she's also getting plus 5K, so she's a 9K booster. And it's just really good in his deck. This card can still be used today in Premium, but it's not as strong as other decks. But you know, I've tried to make some stuff work with this card, but it just aged. It's still a pretty good card to today's standards of Premium, but it's not as strong as what we're doing right now in Premium. So Alk, the main stride until we get to our second win con of the deck, if I can get my G Zone. Oh, okay, we have 2 Shushu Tidua. Tidua came out in this set actually, Divas Festa. Shushu Popular favorite Tidua. So she has 2 abilities, which is Act once a turn. Choose a card, face on card your G Zone turn face up. Then this unit gets the red text, continuous Vanguard Circle. All of your Shushu units in the front row, all your units with Shushu unit card names in your front row get plus 5,000 power for each front row open rigor circle. Then her second ability is auto once a turn, Treasure Break 3. Excuse me. At the end of the battle this unit attacked, choose up to 3 of your rear guards and put them in the bottom deck. If you put 3 cards, sand this unit, and this unit gets drive -2. So this was the first and only, well, not first only. This was the first like Vanguard to just have a generic Vanguard resanding skill, and you could still use this in Premium today. This is not as strong as Heltrata, but it's still a pretty good tech to have in your deck in Premium right now. But in G, this card was absolutely insane. Not only that she gave herself power, Shushu needed this because you could put bottom deck your Shushu rear guards and do all multi-attack and funny stuff. But she also was just very self-efficient. But also another boon that she could do is just flip Ellie. because it doesn't say you need to flip a non-Gene Guardian card. So not only could you set up your defense if you had really nothing to do going first stride, or you don't have enough harmonies, you could just do this, flip, get power, and just attack for like a turn. She's just a really good card. There was a reason why she was like, what, like $40 to $50 in G at a time, and then they reprinted her, and you know, she's very affordable now. So if you do want to play this, you can definitely get your copies of two. Now onto the text of the deck. We have two Shushu headliner Lapria. So she has one ability, which is auto witness unit on Vanguard Circle. Count -1. Choose a face down card with the same name as this card from your G zone. Turn it face up. When this unit attacks, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 your rear guards for each face up card of your G zone and put them at the bottom of the deck in any order. Draw the same number of cards as the number of cards you put. If you have a hard card with Shushu in this card name, draw a card. If you drew 4 more cards in total, choose up to 5 cards from your hand and call them into separate rearguard circles. So this card is here if I brick. That's okay. No, not necessarily. She's still pretty okay if you have her like a pretty bad hand too. Which I mean, unless you're me, like I said, if you brick, that's kind of hard to do in this deck since you draw a lot if you get Ange, and you mostly just go into either Alka or Tidua immediately. But the nifty thing is later in the game you can actually reverse stack your deck with, you know, you can reverse stack your deck to have triggers in the bottom of your deck. But you do search, so keep in mind you will be shuffling your stack unless you're not on Ange, and you're able to get more multi-attack. Meaning if you drew into more Lucio's, you get more multi-attack that way. But literally this is here because I brick, and this card prevents me from bricking harder. So this card is still, I don't think this card's played anymore, but it's still a good option in some specific decks in premium. So yeah, I'm still playing a set of Shushu Lapria. Next, we have one Perfect Performance Ange, you know, my favorite card ever in the entire game of Vanguard. So she has one ability, which is Act Generation Break 2. You countermouse 2, unfortunately, but you turn a card face up your G zone. Then you choose any number of any player's cards on any circle other than Vanguard Circle. Return it to hand. Then this unit gets 5 of power for each card returned. If the number of cards returned is 5 or more, draw a card. If it was 7, this unit gets +1 drive. So she's a big +2 for CB2, but also you clear your opponent's board while also removing your locked cards. But the thing is, you know, Delia Ange already does that herself, so like you get extra lock protection. But like I said, we have we have Layla that can boost on, so if they don't have a PG, they could potentially die. And the Vanguard is too big for any G guards to stop them. Since, you know, most G guards don't have like a Sentinel prevention effect. Except, no, I think Grand Blue still does. I'm not sure. I'm probably misremembering. But this card is still good in some situations. Just because it's still like a +2, and you just rebounce your whole board. Even though you could technically do that with Delight Ange, you still need to ride her, bounce 2, and then, you know, stride, bounce 2. And it's for like specific plays, or if your deck is specifically built for like some type of shenanigans with Delight Ange to do that. So Perfect Performance Ange is just one for, you know, Link Joker, and just for the matches where you need to draw a bunch of cards or you're funny Lila plays or something. And lastly, we have Megiddo. Megiddo is still really good in this deck. So to explain what Megiddo is, she is a Xerath dragon, which Xerath dragons have the card called Ultimate Stride. meaning you have to discard the same name as your Vanguard to stride this, and you need to have 3 face-up cards in your G zone. So in the case of ANGE, you need to have another ANGE in hand. You cannot ultimate stride by calling the rear guard, or you can't ultimate stride by calling the rear guard. You have to specifically have another one in your hand and discard it. And your opponent will know you're doing that because you have to discard for ultimate stride. So Megiddo have the ability of when this unit is placed on Vanguard circle, you count as 2. Then you can choose up to 5 cards from your hand or drop zone in total according to separate rearguard circles. At the end of the turn, they get 5 of power, and the red text auto. At the end of the battle, this unit will attack. Choose one of your other rearguards. You may exchange positions with that unit. So basically, on turns where you absolutely need to like try to end the game, or like a last ditch effort if you have ANGE in your hand, or if somehow have another Lucille in your hand. If you're on Nina, you're cooked. But you can choose 5 cards from your drop zone. They all get 5k power, and you can just start swinging. You do Aqua Force stuff, so it combines all 3 to do that. And Megiddo just attacks, but you have Sand, so you get extra attacks. Besides, also Harmony units like Marinir, if you place them correctly, your Vanguard won't get Harmony unless you play Anya. But you could still have her swing for big power. Lucille, called from drop, they get 5k power. It's just like a really strong 5 to 6. Well, it's a 6 attack turn. A strong a strong 6 to 7 attack a turn if you check a stand with Megiddo. So you can also call quick from drop. So there's no restrictions with that. And with that, that's all the cards in my G zone. So what did I learn playing G era this past weekend? For one, no OT is good. I wish they just banned OT in premium, so that you don't have to worry about your opponent randomly hitting a card that just ends the game. 2, triggers being 10k power. I'm not 10k power. 5k power in this format feels a lot safer. Like, it's not that we don't deny the power of a trigger in standard or even in G. Triggers were still strong. It's always going to still be a strong card in your deck. But since it became 10k in V series, it kind of made guarding a bit worse. I'm not gonna lie. Even this deck, even though I have like all this broken defense, obviously I still lost because I bricked or I misplayed. So I still was struggling against decks that weren't exactly on my level. Well, not my level, the deck's level. But that just goes to show you how playing in G, a lot of your decisions can turn the game around, and it can make the game swing back and forth. Triggers help you, but it's not a crutch in the format, I will say. But sometimes some decks have to rely on it, but it's still a very good thing. I feel like the triggers being 5k is just a breath of fresh air. Plus, triggers actually do something. Like, they have abilities that actually matter. So it's like it's another unit you can use in your hand, but also they're key pieces because you want to keep some for some specific scenarios. Now, this deck specifically, what I would change is probably, like I said, I did have 3 Marinir. I'll probably order a 4th one. I might find an SP, but Marinir definitely the 4 because I like that card. And also it's consistent Harmony too. It's something I can search. I would definitely play another Nina because I rode Lucio twice and I did not have fun at all. It literally ruins the deck. You have to ride this stupid card. But Nina, yeah, I think Nina is a really good card. This could also be Loris as well. Any Loris actually. Even though I clowned on Miracle Voice Loris, she does have some things that Wonderful Voice Loris does not do. And Miracle Voice Loris also is a little bit better to dominate. Or decks that like to remove power or something. So she's a little bit better. And plus, she has the Loris name, so your Marinir could get extra power, which could be game changing. Also, you can search for lures. There's no searching for ANGE. You literally have to draw into this card. And that's what costed me like 2 games because I couldn't draw into it because my early game was terrible. For starter, this is why you need ceiling lures, because ANGE uses a bunch of soul, and Ellie uses soul, so you want to keep using them, and that's why I play this. You could play Akari, but honestly, like, Akari is good for 1 turn, and you just bounce 1 rear guard. This you do have to CB to do it, but like you get more soul with this. That's the only reason why I play it. Like, this card is not very good, but it's the only card that gives you pretty much free soul, other than you having a G guard or neg 1 for Shushu Roberta. Let me get some of the other cards here. Okay, Shani and Akari are like the most busted cards ever to be put into this deck, because in G era, early game was not that common in G, specifically in G. Before early game was common, like decks did stuff early game, but since we got Generation Break cards, a lot of cards just had Generation Break do this, Generation Break do that, or their early game cards was like still pretty bad. But these two are just really broken. Yeah, quite frankly, they're just broken in this deck and in G era. I already talked about Lucio. Subaru is also stupid because, if your opponent has any denial plays, you just call Subaru. Your GB2 unit can't be retired. Woohoo! It can't be interacted with. It has resist. Unless you're going against like Defeat Flare or something, or no, this stops Header around Dragon too. I had Hanali, but Hanali didn't really do anything. I could have played Hanali a little bit better some of the games. I do have games recorded of this deck. I have 6 games in total, so I will be posting them if you're actually interested. By the way, oh, Crook being at 4. In G, I mean, I haven't seen anyone play Coral yet, but yeah, Crook still needs to be a hit to 1. I think even hit to 1, it doesn't really do anything for this deck because the deck is still busted. I'll just put more Crook triggers or take more draw triggers, but Crook at 4 in this deck is just kind of stupid, because Lucio is just a dumb card, specifically with ANGE, because you can search it and then call it in your main phase. And then just get mini power, bounce it back, get another one, do some main battle shenanigans, and then give like another column or like your grade 1's 5k power. So, dumb card with ANGE specifically. And Shushu, I think she's fine because you have to actually pay a cost to call it. I had Aqua in the deck. Aqua is fine. I do like that you just put a card from hand into soul though, because you could just, have soul. It just feels different. You're still not getting a card anyway, but it just feels different. Having 5 could also just be like really good too. But you could honestly put this back to, in my list specifically, you put this down to 4 and you would be fine. I already talked about Mariner already. Mariner is just a really big beater. It has Harmony. That's literally her entire purpose in the deck, and she has GB2. Irune actually made some difference because it makes your Shushu units. One game I had to call a crit and give it 6k with Tidua, and it gets the power stacks in your front row. Also makes Lucio and Tidua actually hit like 28 to 13. Which, I mean, there might be some decks that might have like 13k bases in G on rare cases, but it just makes you able to hit an even stronger number in like, future premium, quote unquote future premium. But Sandy, this card is still fine in premium. It's broken in G because Ellie's a thing. Speak of Ellie, let me get her. Yeah, this card's banned for a reason. This card should, well, I feel like they can bring 1 back in premium, not 2, 1, because Lyrical introduced some pretty absurd tech cards in the format, and with a way to infinitely like recycle back your heals. Not only that, we have the grade 1 G Guardian, which I have it somewhere here, but the grade 1 card I can be quasi G Guardian, you can just keep spamming Ellie. The deck will just be nothing but like, oh, I'm just gonna tank all of your attacks. Well, not every attack. It can't tank the over trigger, but I would just try to tank all your attacks, try to like pseudo deck you out. So I'd rather just not have that type of deck in in Bermuda. So if Bushy was to make this to 1, make this card back, put it to 1. I'm okay with 1, not 2. 1 is fine. And yeah, pretty much that's how I feel about, you know, the deck. I had a lot of fun playing in Curly's tournament. Not only that, just playing Gier again, because I never really fully got to play this deck like at all, because this deck was well, for one, the first video I made was 6 to 7 years ago, so I was still in high school making this, or in college, I think. Yeah, around those two. But I never fully got to play this deck. I never got to get all the cards in my G Zone 2 and play physically. But thanks to technology, me being an adult, having a job and money, I was actually able to play this deck again. So, Bushy Road, if you do ever see this video, please just make this card a 4. I would never complain about anything in Premium, because I could just play this card at 4 and just have fun. That's all I really care about. I don't care if I lose every game. As long as I can ride this card, call cards in the main phase, and set up and attack, I'm completely fine. I don't care. Evil Force Markers, I think this is still fine. I'm evil without Force Markers. I think this is still fine because I just draw a bunch of cards. So, plus I can do my meme full ANGE deck profile. So, I might actually do that one day, but we'll see. So, if you guys enjoyed, hit a like and subscribe. I know this is a very long one, but I'll say this is kind of like an anniversary video. Well, a 7-year anniversary video. I was like, what, 10 days late? Without further ado, I'm Zenarion, and I'm signing off.